Do you like horses? I love horses. I have always loved them ever since I was a little girl. As a matter of fact, I was crazy about horses. I always thought about horses. I always dreamed about horses. I always wrote stories about horses, and I painted pictures with horses in them. They were just always in my world. Can you relate? Let me know in the comments below. Isn't there a proverb that says, every horse deserves to be loved by a little girl? Well, that little girl inside of me loved all of the horses. I always loved spending time with my horses more than I liked spending time with my peers. As a matter of fact, I never fit in. And I think part of why I've always been drawn to horses more than humans is because horses always felt like they understood something about life that most people forget. That quiet awareness, that instinct, that presence. And I would love to know, have you ever felt something like that too? That feeling of being different, or like you notice things more deeply than the people around you. And if so, you are not alone. Let me know in the comments below. I read and respond to all of them. Hey, I'm Daniela, the vegan mom. And today I want to talk about something that has been on my heart for a very long time. That feeling of not fitting in, and what horses have taught me about that. Growing up, I didn't really feel like I fit in. I was never part of groups or cliques. I didn't really have that best friend circle thing that other people seem to fall into so naturally. Did I like not fitting in? No, not really. And for a long time, I thought that there was something wrong with me. Maybe I was too sensitive, too intense, too different. I don't really know. But I carried that feeling for a very long time. Like I was always on the outside of things. Even now, as an adult, I could never fit in. Maybe I'm too intense. And maybe it's because I stand up too much for what's wrong in the world, which is usually not real popular. I also felt like that unicorn. Do you feel like that sometimes or all the time? I could be around people, but I don't feel like I belong. I feel disconnected, like I don't fit in, like I'm present, but also apart. And I always used to judge myself for that. I always used to think, why can't I just fit in like everyone else? But I just didn't have the answer for that just yet. Not until I started paying closer attention to something I have always loved. Horses. Because horses move differently than we do. They don't lead the way humans expect leadership to look. There's no control, no loud authority, no one standing there giving commands. Instead, something else happens, something quieter, something more instinctive. In a horse herd, there is a lead mare. Sorry, gentlemen, but we get to you guys later. She is more wise with a more refined instinct. She's more experienced, usually very aware of everything happening around her. She stands alone because she needs solitude to focus, because lots of responsibility sits on her shoulders. And she's not leading because she forces anyone to follow her. She leads because she sees first. She notices changes in the wind. She senses danger early. She knows when it's time to move and when it's time to rest. And the others follow her, not because she pushes them, but because they trust her awareness. And sometimes people misunderstand something about her. They think she is separate, alone. But it's not loneliness. She's just not always in the middle of things. because she's watching, she's sensing, she's holding awareness for the herd. Her space isn't rejection, it's responsibility. And the stallion plays a different role. Here you go, gentlemen, it's your turn. He doesn't compete with her. He protects the edges of the herd. He responds to danger. He keeps the group safe from the outside world. So there is this quiet balance between them, not hierarchy, but roles. And that's where something really struck me. Because you and I carry more awareness that can feel extremely lonely at times. And often we are the ones who feel the most alone because of this extra measure of awareness and care. We quietly see things that others don't want to look at. You and I care deeply about the animals. We care about this earth, this planet we live on. We refuse to ignore what feels wrong in this world. And once we start to really see the unspeakable cruelty in the farm, dairy, and slaughter industry, it's hard to go back to not seeing these brutalities. We speak up for these abused animals. We feel called toward more compassion, more awareness, more responsibility in how life is treated around us. And when you and I start to really look at animal suffering in large-scale systems, it feels overwhelming. The way animals are raised in industrial farming systems, the way food is produced at scale to meet demand, the way convenience can quietly disconnect us from where our food actually comes from. And when you and I begin to question that, or even just talk about it, it can feel like we're standing outside of mainstream conversation, just because something inside of us won't let us look away. And we do it without recognition, without celebration, without applause, like the unsung hero. And what's even more complex is that all of this connects to bigger systems as well. Health systems that are focused on treating illness once it appears, rather than emphasizing prevention or lifestyle change. And it also makes me think about how deeply food and lifestyle are connected to health, and how that shapes the amount of care people need over time. Even education systems that emphasize medical intervention more than nutrition, prevention, or whole lifestyle approaches. It's not about blaming one group or one profession. It's about recognizing that these systems are large and powerful and interconnected. Now remember, there is a chemist in your kitchen, and it's called the evil big food industries. They're putting all kinds of poisons and chemistry and all kinds of unrecognizable stuff in our food. Then we eat this food, and then of course we get sick from it. Then we go to the doctor, and these fairly uneducated doctors who are actually uneducated about nutrition and lifestyle and exercise, they give us a pill for every ill. And who is benefiting from all these pills that are being dispensed? Of course, big pharma, the pharmaceutical industries. So it's a big evil devil's circle. And who is educating these doctors? And who is creating this false, this horrible education system in the medical field? Just think about it. It's all interconnected, and it's all evil. And when someone starts to speak up about these evil systems or starts to question these connections, believe me, they're not getting a warm response. And people who are pointing these things out, people that are advocating for animals, for health, for more awareness, they often feel very invisible or dismissed or too much, or like they're standing outside of the circle of what's easy to talk about. And I feel like that may be you. and that is definitely me. And I understand that feeling deeply because that's where I find myself all the time. And I think what makes this so complex is because most people aren't living with that kind of awareness. Not because they're trying to be blind, but because life moves so fast and it's just easier to just keep going, to keep moving without looking under every stone and turning every stone over and looking underneath it. But then there are some of us who don't really have that same filter. We notice things differently, and once we notice them, we can't really turn off that awareness and turn off that filter. Not because we want to feel separate, not because we want to stand outside of things, because awareness and compassion becomes something that we carry in a world that wants to look away, in a world that really doesn't want to look too close. And in that way, it reminds me of horses again, because horses don't override what they sense just to stay comfortable. They don't pretend not to notice danger. They don't ignore instinct just to fit in. They don't disconnect from awareness just because it's inconvenient. They stay present with what is real in the moment. They stay connected to their awareness, but they're quietly holding a kind of integrity that keeps them from falling apart. And when I think about that lead mare, she's not standing there waiting for applause. She's simply doing what needs to be done, watching, guiding, holding awareness for the herd, and no one is praising her for it. She just does it because that is who she is. And when I really sat with that, something inside me shifted, because I realized there are a lot of people like you and I who carry a lot of responsibility, and we carry a lot inside. We feel deeply. We think a lot. We notice more than we know what to do with. We carry so much responsibility emotionally, physically, and spiritually for our families, for our work, for our lives. And instead of thinking that there is something wrong with us, what if that just means that we experience life in a more sensitive, more aware manner than everyone else? And that realization is actually part of the reason why I created my program called Back to the Garden of Eating. Because I started noticing how so many people are carrying that quiet feeling of being on the outside of things. And at the same time, we are the ones who are holding a lot together. We are the ones who take care of others. We're the ones who think about everything. We give, often without any space for ourselves. And we don't have a place where we can come back to ourselves, where we can rest and heal and restore, not to be fixed, but to finally change what isn't working, to restore our health, to rebuild our energy, to stop living in a way that slowly wears our body down, and start living in a way that actually supports our body, to question what we have been told is normal, and to choose something better, to reconnect with the rhythm of nature, to start taking real intentional care of our health, to become the CEO of our well-being. There is a verse in the Bible that says, "Come to me all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." And I often think about that, because even the ones who always seem strong, the ones who are always aware, always holding things together, they also need a place to rest, restore, and heal. And maybe that's what I've missed for a long time. I thought being different meant that I didn't belong anywhere. But maybe it was simply a sign that I wasn't meant to constantly force myself into spaces that don't naturally fit how I move through the world. Maybe I was just built differently, like the lead mare, not disconnected from the herd, but simply aware in a different way. So if anything I've shared resonates with you, I would like to invite you to my free workshop called Back to the Garden of Eating. It's a space I created for people who feel deeply, think deeply, and sometimes carry more than they know how to put down. It's not about fixing yourself. It's about softening, coming back into balance, and remembering who you are underneath all the noise. This free workshop is my gift to you and just an open door to learning how to restore your health and energy through a more natural way of eating and living. And I will leave the link to this workshop in the description below. So maybe if you've ever felt like you don't quite belong, maybe it doesn't mean you're in the wrong place. Maybe it just means you're standing in a different position in the herd, watching, sensing, feeling more than most people notice. Not separate, just aware. And maybe that isn't loneliness after all. Maybe it's just another way of belonging. Please like and subscribe and become part of our vegan tribe. And maybe this is what belonging really is. Finding the tribe that sees the world like you do. And until next time, take very good care of yourself. Bye for now.